This episode brought to you by the show The Good Place. Guys, I'm for real serious about this. I love this show. You can watch it on Netflix. Just look up The Good Place. It's forking amazing. If you've watched it, you know why I said that. It combines two of my favorite things, philosophy and comedy. I mean, who thought those went together? I didn't until I watched The Good Place. It came out a while back, but then one of our faithful listeners, Travis, was like mentioning it. Oh, I'm watching The Good Place again. And then now I'm watching it again. And it's hilarious. I laugh out loud. So if ever you want to just know how my brain works and what I think is funny, watch The Good Place. Yeah, I don't have a typical funny sponsor. Let's hit that theme song. Oh, nice. We're going for like existential vibes. Hannah the human. I can get down with it. Get down with it. Get down with it. Yeah, I've been just watching a few episodes of The Good Place this morning after I watched a few episodes, maybe by a few, probably more like 10 last night. And then, I watched some the night before. Yeah. So, I'm just in Good Place mode. But seriously, I do love that show. It's the only show I've watched. And it only has 4 seasons. That's why I like it. Because you can actually watch the whole show. I've watched different parts of The Office and Friends and New Girl, and I think they're funny, but it's just like so unmotivating for me to watch it because it never ends. I need that motivation of knowing, okay, I can binge watch this and be obsessed with it, and then a week later I'll be done. There's no hope of that. With The Office, I'm just going to become non-existent. If I try to do that with New Girl, I'm going to have to lose my soul and lose my job and quit eating. So, yeah, that's why I do movies, because I like the feeling of an end. I like the feeling of a conclusion. Speaking of conclusions, let's conclude my series, Single Woman. Oh, did you see what I did there? Oh, must be like a podcaster or something. I have been putting off recording this for most of this week. It is now Friday, the Friday before you hear this. Why have I been putting off this podcast? I guess because I don't have a conclusion. And we already talked about how I love conclusions. So maybe we can more just talk about why am I where I'm at? We need to figure this out. Because I last left off where I talked about, yay, go Hannah. She started dating. She started not being scared about not being pure and, started questioning her beliefs on all that and got out, started playing the game and meeting people. And now I've deleted the dating. Well, I actually haven't deleted them yet. Did I delete my account? Anyway, basically the point is stop the dating apps. If a guy asks me, at Red Lobster, it's happened before, hey, do you want to go out? Or say I'm at the bar hanging out with my friends and somebody's like, hey, girl, I'm not going to give them my number. Why am I saying no to this now? That's how I feel. That's where I'm at. And you might be like, whoa, how did we get here? I guess I'll just start from, I was talking about how I didn't romantically like this great guy who liked me, and then there was this other guy that I really was obsessed about, but he wasn't good at communication, and he also didn't like me in that way. And then I tried some dating apps and stuff and went out with a few different people that way, and one guy in particular, I was just feeling super lonely and just thinking, what's the point of me being single? Like, I might as well have fun and go out on dates with people. So I went out on New Year's Eve with this guy. And then it was like, oh, wow, he's actually a decent guy. So now I kind of want to go on a real date with him, not just going out to a bar on New Year's Eve having fun. So we had dinner and watched a movie, and I got to know him more, and he's this decent guy, and he really was into being Catholic. That's how he was raised, and I just appreciated that he had a conviction. I've been getting more firm on what I believe around faith and more confident in identifying myself as a Christian and wanting to read the Bible and practice these different things that I say I believe. I still have tons of questions and am afraid of boxing myself in, but we're improving. So anyway, me and this guy kind of went out a few different times over a couple weeks or so. And I share all this to share something shifted, because I was talking to this guy and he was sharing about how, he would like to, when he has kids someday, that's when he's really going to focus on going to Catholic church and all this stuff. And it hit me, oh, wow, I'm talking about my future like that. Like, oh yeah, when I have a family and kids, or when I'm married someday, then I'm going to do this thing that I think is a good idea. Oh yeah, then I'm going to settle down. Oh yeah, then I'm going to go to a church regularly, even if I'm annoyed by them, because I want my kids to have a structure and prioritize learning about religion or whatever it is. Oh, wow, I have a high value for creativity. I'm totally going to be creative when I get to be a stay-at-home mom, or whatever it is. Basically, I was confronted by how I set being the type of person I wanted to be out there in the future once certain things happened, like getting married, having a family, meeting the right group of people. And I suddenly realized I need to be that type of person and do the types of things that I value now. I can't put it down in the future someday. I can't say, oh yeah, I'm a creative and I would totally do music and stuff if I, lived in the right city or had the right group of musicians around me or whatever. And I would have to confront, okay, if I'm not doing music or doing whatever XYZ that I say is valuable and important to me, maybe I don't actually value that. And I suddenly realized, no, I really do value certain things, like going to a religious community regularly, just the discipline of being around other people who say they want to grow in knowledge of the Bible and being a good person and God. I want to be committed to prioritizing that in my life, because when I close my eyes and think about it, I'm like, oh yeah, that's the life I envision. That's a value that I have, learning to work with other people, even when we disagree, even when we see the world totally differently. I want to know how to love people, even though I'm different than them. And honestly, some of the most difficult people for me to give that grace and love to is other Christians. So I don't want to come up with excuses anymore of why I can't be in community and relationship with other Christian Bible people. And I really want to work through where I'm no longer hurt, offended, angry by legalism or religion that desires to control. I want to be at a place where I honestly feel love towards them, where I honestly don't feel defensive, don't feel like I have to stand up for my beliefs or say how their beliefs are destructive. I want to be at peace. And so I realized that I had certain convictions and values, and one of those realizations was, oh, I actually have a type of guy that I want to end up marrying. So suddenly I didn't want to just go out with anybody. Suddenly it wasn't just like, oh, a cute, nice guy who says that he believes in God. Cool, we'll go out. Suddenly I'm like, no, actually I have certain beliefs, not at all that other people are bad or choosing the wrong path or whatever. Like I had zero judgment. I had no need to make guys who lived a different lifestyle than me wrong. No, I just suddenly realized, oh, I can't just say, oh yeah, when I'm married someday and have kids, I'm going to value setting apart the Sabbath day because that's a conviction for me personally. Like, it's not going to work if I marry somebody who wants to do sports on Saturday and then go to Catholic church on Sunday. Not that those are wrong at all. That's just not the life I'm living. It's kind of obvious when you think about it, but it also was so refreshing because I wasn't coming to these conclusions because some person older or quote wiser than me or some pastor or book or a therapist or podcast or something was telling me, oh yeah, these are the type of people that you should choose, or you should only be around or date people who have your values. I wasn't outsourcing this conviction. This was an inward realization of what I valued, and it was not hard, and I didn't have to make myself want something that was right. I just genuinely, zero. No desire to be on the dating apps, no desire to hit the, see if a guy at the bar liked me or whatever. Just a complete desire to hang out with the people who I'm friends with and start living the life that I actually value, because I do want to be married someday. I hope that I'm unable to do a series Single Woman in the future, because I hope to not be a single woman. All that to say, I guess also I felt burnt out by trying to make it happen, and it just felt so out of my control. And even as I'm saying this, I'm realizing, also, I don't want to live a life trying to find a life partner. Because if I go to my grave and never finding somebody that I would marry and raise a family with, I would be sorely disappointed looking back over my life if my whole life was spent trying to find someone. Let's just imagine it. 99-and-a-half-year-old Hannah. She's lived through 3 centuries. That is kind of a cool idea. I was born in 1999 in July, so if I lived to 100-and-a-half, then, or was it 99-and-a-half? No, math. Oh dear. Basically, like 100, 100-and-a-half, somewhere around there. If I lived to that age, I will have be able to say I've lived in 3 centuries. So back to 100-year-old Hannah, lying on my bed, breathing my last peacefully as all those I love surround me, and my beautiful white hair, although it'll probably be a dirty blonde gray. There I go. Off she goes. Hannah's soul has moved on. And as I float and hover above my body, my life flashes before my eyes. I look back over all my life decisions and every hour I've spent being a human being on planet Earth. I imagine looking back and saying, wow, Hannah, you spent all your energy, all your focus, all your time not wanting to be alone, wanting to find that special someone, rather than just living the life in front of you. That would be disappointing. And so now, as 24-year-old Hannah, not on her deathbed, with dirty blonde hair but no gray in it, I want to live my life now as a single woman. I don't want to be striving for something. I want to be present to where I'm at, who I am, who's around me, my current opportunities. I want to be able to say when I go to bed at night, wow, I live a great life. And I want to be able to wake up in the morning and smile as I think about the life I get to live. And I say all this also holding the tension of truly having desires. Truly, I do want to be married someday. I've always wanted to have a family. I watch movies about, people who fall in love or families, and I listen to parenting podcasts, for goodness sakes. I try to learn relationship skills. I listen how to resolve conflict in intimate relationships. Yeah, because it'll help with my friends, but also because I want to be a good partner to somebody in life. I want to be a good romantic partner. I want to be a good friend. I want to be a good wife. Like, I have values. I think about politics and stuff, and I talk about creating the world I want my children to live in. I don't have a freaking child, but I want to. I have these desires. And so I hold those desires in the tension of that. And I also hold the fact that, oh, let's check. I'm a single woman living in a studio apartment in Sioux City, Iowa. And I'm actually really proud of myself. I make my own sourdough bread. I go on jogs outside. I'm able to do half a pull-up now. I only used to be able to do a quarter of a pull-up. So I think I'm getting stronger. I diffuse essential oils in my apartment and it smells amazing. I want to invite my friends over and share lunch with them because I like the space I've created. I'm really pleased with the amount of money I make at my job, and I enjoy my coworkers. I have fun at work. I love the sunshine in the morning when the sun shines, and even on cloudy days, I like the rain. I feel so proud of myself in just complete contentment when I've swept my floor, mopped it, cleaned my bathroom, and vacuumed my carpet. And then I go and do some shopping, and I open up my apartment door and I step into my clean apartment, and I'm just flooded, literally, like a wind blowing all over me. I'm flooded with contentment. And yes, I'm content and happy as I eat a dinner meal that I cooked the other day. Some friends gave me some canned venison, and I put that over some wilted kale and sweet potatoes and sauteed onions with a splash of apple cider vinegar. It was hitting the spot. And was I sipping a beer, or maybe I made myself a little cocktail? And it's evening, I'm done with work, and my twinkle lights in my house are on, and my lamp, and I just love the lighting. And I'm just so content as I'm eating that meal. And yes, I'm also aware of how much I would like for there to be someone else building this life with me. How awesome it would be if I wasn't alone in my apartment. If being at home didn't mean being by myself. And yet, I'm content. I'm really happy. And I keep saying I'm proud of myself, but that's because I really am. It's a wonderful thing to be proud of yourself. To realize that you're capable of making yourself happy. Yeah, that's good. To realize that you follow through on what you actually value. Oh, that means the world. And I also, even as I say that, I'm flooded by a bunch of thoughts of ways that I'm not being who I want to be. I yell at the hosts when I think they're skipping me and not seating me at work. And then immediately I apologize. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to raise my voice at you. What I meant to communicate was, I think I'm up next in rotation. Oh, yes, you are, Hannah. Thank you for calmly saying that. And I get defensive around certain topics and certain people. And I don't want to be that. But there's time. There's growth that'll happen. And I can believe it happens because I've seen how I've grown in other areas of my life. I know I have integrity. Yet I don't just believe that I have integrity. I also believe that my life has integrity, meaning there's a trust I have in the process that I'm not just the one making this happen, that I'm being guided, that things are being guided around me, that I'm being blessed, that literally the fabric of the world and circumstances around me are also working in integrity with goodness, that I can trust the process. And I do have moments where I think maybe I'm just hiding out in a cave and I think that I'm trusting the process, but really I'm just a little going to turn into a spinster knitting in a corner saying that God's going to bring somebody. But if I never get out there and date, nothing's going to happen. I had that thought the other day, just in passing. Maybe not those exact details, but that idea, that concept, again, like I talked about in last episode, that's the voice of fear, though. That's the voice of, oh dear, am I missing out? Am I not doing it right? And I've had to say yes to dating opportunities because I was so no. And now I find that I don't want to say yes to every opportunity. I can have requirements. I've learned that I want to feel an attraction for the person I'm going out with. I want to feel interested in getting to know him. If I have zero desire to be anything more than friends with someone, then I don't need to see if it'll work. Give it a shot. If somebody who I find attractive or whatever isn't living a life that is according to the values I live by, then I'm not interested. And yeah, it is a very narrow, small percentage population that would fit what I'm looking for. At least that's how it feels. But also I think it's true. I mean, I have specific things that I care about. For example, for me, I mentioned this before, but Saturday Sabbath is important. It's something that is authentic to me and I've processed it, and it's just one of my ways that I live my life. I don't work on Saturday, and I try to be in community and read the Bible and have a meal or do something with other people who have that same conviction. And I try to set apart, like make different and special Saturday as my day of ceasing from working and striving and all that other stuff. And that's a big priority for me. And I want to marry somebody who isn't just like, oh, cool, that's the way you do it, awesome, but wants to live that lifestyle as well, wants to have children with me, and so that we can be a cohesive unit of living out that conviction. Again, I don't need my kids to be raised and then go create their lives exactly how I lived. I'm not interested in that at all. When I have kids someday, I hope that they formulate their own beliefs and convictions and all this stuff. However, I want to create a home and environment that is in alignment with how I live as a single person now. You know, like I basically don't want to marry somebody and then do everything different. I have certain ways I want to live now. And again, you have to be open to compromise, obviously. So, you know, since I'm single, I can sort of wake up and say, oh, yeah, I think I'll go on a jog today. Oh, well, actually, I was going to go on a jog at 11, but now I'm doing a podcast, so I'll just go on a jog at whenever I get done with this. And as long as I get to work at 5 o'clock, boom, not, you know, no problem with that. Whereas when you're in a relationship with someone, you have to compromise on the little things and even some big things. However, there are a few things that that compromising for me is not an option. And when I've heard people talk about this before, it always sounded so controlling and so dumb. You know, I would just listen to them and think, wow, you are so you got something stuck up your butt. You just want to live your way, you know? Gosh, you'd rather be single than just marry somebody who wanted to rest on a different day than you. That's a little dumb. But I kind of get maybe where they're coming from now. It's not a tough decision for me to make. Like, it isn't dumb for people to have certain things that are important to them that are unique to them. If somebody lives in, I'm going to pick a random place, Tampa Bay, Florida, and say they just love Tampa Bay, Florida. I've never been, but let's say somebody lives there and they love it and they just see themselves living and dying there. It's all right for them to turn down opportunities, job opportunities, relationship opportunities that don't involve them living in Tampa Bay, if that's what they really care about. I would say you have to really know that it is an authentic value to you, that it's not just rooted in fear of trying something new, right? Because that would be sad if somebody never left their city because they had this fear of doing something different or being wrong, because then they wouldn't be living their lives. Fear would be living their lives. Just like it'd be sad, I was mentioning before, if I lived my whole life trying to make a relationship happen in my life instead of just being me. I would be, my story, if you tied a little bow around it, if I lived out of that motivation, it wouldn't be Hannah lived a great life. It would be fear and concern and worry and loneliness lived a lovely 100 years. And Hannah got to do a few things in there, but she wasn't calling the shots. Fear, loneliness, whatever it was. I would say, yeah, there's a genuine concern if somebody is so sure about something and it's causing them relational harm or minimal job opportunity or something. Like for me, I don't work on Saturdays. As a server, that's pretty dumb. You make really good money on Saturdays. That's when everybody's out and about. It's busy. And yet I don't feel like a victim to it. I don't feel at all upset about it because I just have certain values and I live that life. However, if somebody else was doing that and they didn't really for sure know that this was a genuine way that they wanted to live their life authentic to them and they had processed through it, then that probably wouldn't be a good idea to cause your life to be worse because of what somebody else felt convicted by or because you heard it was the right idea. I kind of went down a rabbit hole, or what that phrase is funny. Like, I don't really relate to the imagery of rabbit holes. Like, I see rabbits jumping around, but I'm not really invested in the lifestyle of rabbits, and I don't run into a lot of rabbit holes, actually. So maybe I'll make a new little phrase. Wow, I really went down a random dirt road. I don't know. Anyway, steering back on course to what I was saying, because of course there's a course. Yeah, basically, I have values, and now I'm not at all feeling like I'm punishing myself or limiting my options or anything. I just don't have any desire anymore to pursue relationships that don't align with a few different values I have. Now, and what I was saying is those values do happen to be unique, right? For example, if my value was, I just want to marry somebody who goes to church and who wants to not live in a big city. Those are requirements, but you know what? Here in America, there's like millions of people who fit that requirement. Tons of people are good people, go to church and live in the suburbs. It's a little bit more narrow when I say, yeah, I want them to have a value to not work on Saturdays, to care about the Bible, and want to live a lifestyle that supports nature and doesn't destroy it or whatever. That I'm picking a few different things I value. That narrows it down a lot. There's not as many. You don't run into those every day at Walmart, And I just also kind of want to talk about and process through right now the difference between those deep set values and things that you value, but you don't need your partner or whoever, friend, whatever, to have the same convictions. I'm just thinking about relationships, like even in friendships, there's certain things that they're deal breakers for you. If somebody gossips about you, that might be a deal breaker for you. You're just like, yeah, I can't get close to you because I can't trust you. For some people, it's if somebody has a different political leaning, they just can't be friends with them. I do think it's important, though, to really know what's a value that you can be honest with, but you can allow others to be different on. And of course, different relationships are going to have different levels of that being okay, right? If you're just a casual acquaintance, it doesn't really matter as much if we're both interested in all the same things. If I'm just an acquaintance with somebody, maybe we both like soccer, and so we play soccer together, and we don't really have any more things in common. That's fine, because if our relationship is just, hey, be friendly and play soccer, then boom, we're fulfilling that role in each other's lives. And it doesn't really matter if we also both eat the same kind of foods and enjoy the same kind of movies or whatever. And so when I think about who I would want to date and marry, there's certain values I have. Like, I like eating food of a certain quality. I buy organic as much as I can. I like making meals from scratch. I value health and working out to a certain extent. I value music and creativity. And yeah, that would play a role in how I would want to raise my children. And so, yeah, I'm sure I would have to have conversations with whoever I was married to about what food we're going to feed the kids and all this stuff. But for me, I realize, let me imagine a scenario where I marry somebody who doesn't eat the same quality of food as me. I don't see that being a deal breaker. I see us being able to say, okay, well, that's how you live and that's how I live, and then we're working together. So say somebody just, no, I love McDonald's and that kind of food, and I personally don't eat fast food that much. It's like, yeah, that could easily work. They have their conviction, I have my conviction, and I could see us coming to an agreement on how to raise kids. And that's going to be different for everybody. Like, I know some people, and they, like, around religion, they have different religious beliefs, right? Say one person goes to one denomination and another person goes to another denomination. For those of you who don't understand denominations, basically it's like different religious beliefs. You know, one person is Catholic and one person is Lutheran. It might not work for some people. Some people might say, no, I need to be both Catholic or both Lutheran. But other people may say, you know what, we have enough in common, it would totally work. So that's what I mean by it varies by different people. So it does annoy me when people talk in the language of it always has to be this way. Like, if you're a Christian, you need to marry another Christian. And they just don't see how it could work any other way than what they personally believe. You know, like, it'd be like me walking around saying, you know, so if you say that you rest on Saturday, then I don't want to see you going out on a date with anybody who doesn't also believe that, because it wouldn't work for me, so it can't work for you. Yeah, that's kind of dumb. Now, people don't say it straight out right like that. They'll say stuff like, well, the Bible says this, or you know, it'd be unwise to, or it's just not right. But really what they're saying is, I wouldn't do it that way, and so you shouldn't do it either. So that's why I'm clarifying all this. I don't at all want to sound like I'm telling people how to live. I'm just telling you what conclusions I've come to, and I do think there are deeper principles that can apply to everybody, even when you have different convictions. So enough of me rambling about values and all this stuff, because I also wanted to talk about another concept, submission to the design. Now, submission is a weird word, coming from somebody who was raised in purity culture where the wives had to submit to the husbands. You know, we discussed a little bit of this a couple episodes ago. Submit can be a trigger warning. You know, it can ruffle some feathers. It can turn my stomach inside out and make me want to grab some ammunition and throw it at whoever said that word. And however, the word submission has gained some beautiful meanings to me recently, because I have had to look in my own life where, specifically around my values and beliefs on sexuality, I have had to realize the beauty of submitting to the design. I want to just share where I'm coming from. Again, this isn't going to apply to that, you know, somebody if they don't have the same underlying values as me. Like, if you don't value getting to know the God of the Bible more, or if you don't value living your life by certain interpretations of the Bible, then yeah, it doesn't apply. But I do just want to share where I'm coming from so you can also understand another aspect of why my relationship with the idea of relationships has shifted. After I went out with that guy that I mentioned for a couple of weeks who was Catholic, and then I realized, oh wow, I want to live right now by my values. I was also confronted because we were talking about how he believed that it was wrong to have sex before you were married. But then he was also telling me that he would be fine having sex before marriage. And that was also a reason why I just didn't see us getting to know each other more, because of the hypocrisy that was. Again, I don't want to accuse him of he's a hypocrite or whatever. I mean, we all have moments and incongruities and all that. However, it had me lack respect for him, because if he's saying that he believes something but then he isn't living by it, that loses my respect pretty fast. Because I want to be somebody who, when I'm not living by something that I say I believe, then I either change that belief or I try to start living by what I say I believe. That's why I've started reading the Bible more and prioritizing, doing Christian things and stuff, because I've realized, no, I actually do have a value for that. But that's also why I questioned a lot of things about my beliefs, and I've changed a lot of opinions and stuff because I wasn't living according to them. So about the area of sexuality and dating, like now I'm going to go just specifically into the act of sex, which, okay, about this, you can't really define it exactly. That's also my, okay, yes, you can. Oh, penetration or whatever. Sorry, children, plug your little ears. But the whole rule making, the whole this far and no further is so gray area. How I view it is it's up to the people in a relationship. They have to define what their boundaries are or what they believe in and all that stuff. So the whole concept of making rules and being like, you can or can't have sex, or this is sex, but this is okay, but this isn't, but you can kiss, but then you can't. The spirit behind that nitpicky kind of rule-making thing, I think, is bound to not be beneficial to relationships. However, I think it's good for everybody to have a personal sexual ethic. And that could mean, yeah, I don't have sex with people unless I feel safe with them. Or I don't have sex with people unless I'm married to people. It could be, I don't make out with somebody on the first date. Whatever it is, I think it's good to have a sexual ethic and to know your personal boundaries and all of that. And so I've been also trying to figure all of that out for myself as I've done this whole process that I talked about in the last episode of actually going on dates and actually asking these questions of myself and trying to figure out, what do I actually believe and how do I actually want to live my life and how do I be a sexual person in this world? And so basically having that conversation with that guy where he told me, oh, I believe this, but then I do this, had me look at my beliefs, and I suddenly got clarity on how I did actually have a traditional Christian ethic around sex, that I want to save that expression in relationship for when I'm with somebody in the safety of a commitment to that person. I want to put it bluntly, I don't want to have sex before marriage. But for me, that means way more than just that. It means way more than what I was told in youth groups. It means all that I've talked about in this series so far. It carries all this experiential weight. It carries having conversations and talking to God and other people about this. And it carries the beauty and the peace of it actually being a decision I made, not a decision that was made for me by other people or by what the quote right way is or what the Bible says. Again, I don't have, in my mind, I don't have this clear boundary of oh, well, this constitutes sex and this doesn't. And, well, would I make out with him or what's the boundary? I don't have any of that logic. I just have a knowing of that I can trust that I will be guided in the moment according to what I am convicted by. And it's like I've had this realization that for me, I want sex to mean something. And this is where I disagree with how I was raised, this idea of people saying sex means something, and when you have sex with someone, you'll be a soul tie forever to them. You know, maybe that's true. I haven't done a personal research into the spiritual viability of the act of penetration. And I don't plan on ever. And however, what I can say is that we do have the power to create specialness and meaning around things. Like for somebody, eating dinner out on the lawn in the sunshine may just be eating dinner out on the lawn in the sunshine. But for somebody else, it may be the last thing that you did with somebody you loved, and now every year on that date, you go and grab a picnic blanket and lay it out on the grass and eat dinner in the sunshine. You just created meaning behind it. I think that's the power of being human, is we make meaning into what we wear and what we say and what we eat. That's the beauty of being human. And I think sex is part of that as well. I think that people who say they have casual sex do really just make it casual. Again, some people may say, oh, well, doing that is actually causing you emotional damage because it can't actually be casual. I'm not going to get in that argument. I'm just going to believe somebody when they say, well, for me, it's casual. I'm going to say, okay. And for me, Hannah, I don't want it to be casual. I want it to mean something, because I'm not just actually looking for physical fulfillment. I'm actually looking to be fully known, to be loved in all aspects, to be secure and safe in attachment with someone. And I want it to be physical, emotional, spiritual. And at the same time, I do have concerns that I'm hyping something up to be more than it can be. Am I asking for somebody to fulfill me? However, I don't think that's true. I think that I want to have deep connections with people. So since I'm not in a romantic marriage relationship, I want to try to be as connected to my friends. I just want to be the type of person that is honest, that is vulnerable. And in the relationships that I want to be sexual, I want to be honest, vulnerable as well. And so I don't want to be sexual and express sexuality with someone unless I have that vulnerability, that connection, and that love with them. And it feels so good for me to know that, because now I don't have to judge people when they're just like, whoa, I just banged it out. Or, somebody hooks up with somebody at a bar. And for me, I don't have to feel like, okay, I guess, man, they seem to be having fun. I guess I should just have casual sex. I can be like, oh, well, they're having fun. And I know for me, that kind of fun actually doesn't satisfy me. For the same reason that I actually don't enjoy eating Dairy Queen ice cream or Krispy Kreme donuts. They don't actually satisfy me. Don't get me started on Krispy Kreme donuts, but I am started. People say, I think I talked about this before, but basically they're just a bunch of sugary air and they let you down. And that's how I feel about casual sex. My brain is like racing, thinking of like all the ways that you could potentially make that into a t-shirt or a meme or something. But I have so much peace around it now because I know what I personally value. And it feels so wonderful to be able to create sex in my life and sexuality to be something meaningful. And I used to only associate, putting meaning to sex and all that stuff with the legalism and the control and the shame and the doing it right that I talked about in the first podcast episode of this series. And so it's really wonderful for me to have all these values and stuff that are totally disconnected from that shame. Or at least I hope they are totally. I hope I processed through it. I hope I'm a decent human being. Let's see, how long have I been talking? My goodness, I've been talking for a long time. Whew, let's wrap this thing up. Well, we've had fun rambling about. Oh, I never even talked about submitting and why I use that word. Basically, all this to say, as I've been focusing more on there being a God and Jesus being God, and actually trying to read the Bible and be like, okay, what's God actually saying to me in all of this? There's been just a deepening sense of me believing that there's a design for certain things, that there's a design for sexuality. So for me, I'm thinking, oh yeah, I think that perhaps if God's the creator of the world, he created sex maybe to be the most wonderful in safe environments. And I did hear, I don't know exactly what study, so I'm just spouting off information. I guess it doesn't mean anything. But these people who were talking on a podcast who study mental health and relationships and all that stuff, they said that there's actually been studies done that actually prove that on average, it's the 16th year of marriage that people say, wow, our sex is great. I'm butchering this, but the whole point that I got from when I listened to these people who are more educated than me is that basically they were saying it has been proven that sex is actually better after you are deeply emotionally and all that connected with your partner. And so they were basically encouraging people, like, sex doesn't get more boring. If you create it to be a connecting point, you could actually have rockin' hot sex more when you're later in life because you've been with that partner more and you've worked it out to be wonderful. And I like that logic because that lines exactly up with what I think. So I'm on board that train. Yeah, let's go. All right. Guys, we're crumbling. It is time for me to stop talking. Oh, but submission. Submission. Basically, I have been getting more confident in the belief that God does have a design and that he's good. And so I can actually helpfully submit to his design and intention. And as I align my heart to be linked to his heart and the spirit that holds us all together, then I actually can be in alignment with life, right? So like, that's why I eat the food I do. And that's why I don't overpack my schedule with busyness. And that's why when I notice that my body is tired, I give it rest, because I believe that if I align with the natural working order of things and the design, that I will actually be more full of life and be giving life and part of a positive influence into this whole system rather than fighting against it. And in that aspect, submitting to the design is beautiful to me, and it takes the pressure for me off of trying to do it right, because now I'm not trying to ace the test. I'm actually trying to align my heart with the intention behind the universe so that my intention produces life and so that my actions produce life. So in the aspect of sexuality and relationship, I just have a new level of peace where I am open to allowing God to change my intentions and heart and desires to be in alignment with the design. And I'm trusting that as that changes, that it's a good thing. So I don't have to, even though I have moments of doubting it, ultimately, I can trust that, like, for example, me not having the desire to go find somebody on a dating app or meet someone at a bar, or get out there and start dating, or even I logically in my mind, I'm thinking, yeah, I should probably like go to a Bible study or something, or a church or whatever that has people my age who, you know, just increase the odds of meeting somebody who aligns with beliefs I have. Oh, I should do that. When I don't want to, then I just trust, you know, God, if I'm supposed to want to, I continually am aligning my heart to be with your heart. So steer me correctly. And then I can just let it be. And then I'm present to all the things that are wonderful about my life. Like food. Like music. Like the sky. And like ending this podcast. Okay, I was about to say peace out, but we need to do a little creative moment. So what better than for me to insert a snippet of a song that I want you to all go stream on Spotify or Apple Music or wherever you listen to music, because I released this song. It's called Someone That I Can Call Home. You could even just go look it up on YouTube. Hannah the Human, Someone That I Can Call Home. I made a little video for it. Here's a little snippet of that song. And I'm not going to pretend that I don't want you to go listen to the full song on streaming platforms. I do. So that's why it's just a part of the song. Anyway, here's a snippet of that song. Here it is.
Keys in the ignition. Off, it hears a sigh coming from me. I open up the front door, take off my shoes, make sure I don't leave the porch light on. There's no one coming home. And there's no one waiting for me as I flick on my bedroom lamp and toss my backpack to the ground and leave my clothes in a lump. Wash my face and stare at it in my bathroom mirror. I sure do look nice tonight, if only someone cared, and that someone waited in my room to kiss my tired face as I fall asleep against his breathing chest. 'Cause I just want someone that I can call home. I just want someone that I can call home.
Again, listen to that full version of the song on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music, wherever you prefer to stream your music. Okay, peace out.